right, so here we are in the Readathon. I have an incredibly special guest with me. Special guest, would you like to introduce yourself?
How you doing? My name's Aidan Kearney, a.k.a. Turtleboy or Uncle Turtleboy or Dr. Turtleboy.
Dr. Turtleboy.
Yeah, I just started calling myself a doctor a while ago.
Like an honorary PhD? How'd you get that?
And I highly recommend it. I think everyone should ask to be called doctor. You feel a lot better about yourself.
Well, I mean, Taylor Swift got an honorary PhD. Like, why can't you, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
So I have, first of all, apologies. I have been mispronouncing your last name this entire time in my podcast. Well, no, I mean, it doesn't look like Kearney, just like Worcester doesn't look like Worcester. I'm just going to fucking say it, right?
Right.
So a couple of things about you. Turtleboy, that name comes from a fountain, right?
That's correct. Or a statue. Yeah, I don't know if it's a fountain anymore.
Oh, it's not?
Yeah, it's a statue in downtown Worcester. That's my hometown where I'm from. And it's just this funny statue. It's this boy who is, the artist was supposed to make it look like he's like releasing the turtle into the wild or riding it or something. And but it looks like he's fucking it and screaming out in pain. Like, it's just so funny. So it's like the most quintessential Worcester landmark. So as a Worcester guy, like, what better brand name to have to your website than Turtleboy?
Better than the giant like Bernie and Phil's that you drive by like in Worcester or whatever, right? So you have an interesting background. You used to be a history teacher, right?
That's correct. 11th grade history.
11th grade history. Your father was a lawyer, right?
My mother was a lawyer.
Oh, your mother was a lawyer.
My father was a professor of biochemistry at Mass College of Pharmacy.
Okay. You got to fix your Wikipedia page. And by the way, I'm really sorry about the loss of your mother, by the way. I know that she died very recently. It was really horrible. I know it's a really horrible way to go. I know that you were tight with your mom, your parents, and I've been followed that. And I'm really, really sorry about that.
Well, thank you.
And so one thing that I want to ask about, and we're going to get to some of your other writing in a minute, but like, you've been doing this blog for a while. Pre-Karen Read, like, this is not the first case that you have covered around police malfeasance, right?
No, I've been crapping on the state police for years now, since before it was cool. In 2017, I did a big expose. It's come to be known as Troopergate. The daughter of a judge, her name is Allie Bebo. She was arrested for driving under the influence of heroin, crashed her car. And it was right in my town of Holden, actually, on the highway. And she told the trooper who arrested her, she offered him a blowjob, basically, to let her go. And it was included in the report. It's very embarrassing. Her father's a judge. The district attorney, Joe Early from Worcester County, got a hold of that. And he called in a favor, and he asked his buddies down at the state police, Colonel Richard McEwen, you got to clean up that arrest report. You got to get that sentence out of there. And so, he calls his underling, who calls his underling, and then you need to remove this sentence. The trooper, his name is Ryan Skeevy, or he's actually from Canton. He refuses to do it. He's like, I'm not doing it. I'm not protecting some woman because she's a judge's daughter. Like, not going to, that's what she said. I'm keeping it in the report. He gets disciplined for it. And a bunch of troopers were very upset about this, and they contacted me. They gave me the before and the after reports, and I published it. And it ended up leading to a huge scandal in which the colonel, the lieutenant colonel, and the major all had to like resign in disgrace for their role in covering up this scandal for the judge's daughter.
So you uncovered this story. I know that you've been defended by the ACLU in the past.
Yeah, that's a lawsuit. Yeah.
How do you get scoops? Why is it that people come to you?
Well, people just trust me because I keep sources anonymous. The people can come to me with anonymous information, and I can get it out there. Like, for instance, like these troopers, like, they wanted this out there. They were upset about it. They're like, the world should know about this. Well, and they actually went to the Boston Globe with it, and they weren't interested. And so they came to me, and they know that I'm going to keep all sources. I mean, it gets out there. It's just as effective as, the Boston Globe writing about it. People read, eyeballs are eyeballs. People read it. Information gets out there. News is not only disseminated by mainstream media now, it can be disseminated by anybody with a Twitter account. So, people just trust me, and they want the story out there. And that's kind of how I've made my business the last 10 years.
Yeah. So I think it's fair to say, and we talked about this a little before we started recording, so I'm not ambushing you, that like you've also written some stuff that is controversial. I think that a lot of my listeners and followers would like probably vehemently disagree with some stuff that you might think of as culture war stuff, social stuff. They might think of it as like civil rights stuff, political stuff. However, I think that there is this swath of agreement on cop stuff, corruption stuff, authoritarian stuff. I have a big question for you, and this is something that I've been thinking about for a long time. I've been wondering why there isn't broader agreement across a wide variety of the political spectrum around police corruption, around things like police misconduct, government overreach, or in this particular area. Because if we all agree that the government's beholden to us, right? Are the police not like the scariest part of that? I mean, and you seem to in particular be triggered by this one arm of the government. So I'm just curious to know like why the police in particular seem to be like a branch of the government that like you seem to be particularly interested in.
Because they have all the guns.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, the Second Amendment exists not so people can go hunting or, protect, like it's to protect from a tyrannical government. So you're not outnumbered with, I mean, that's why the Second Amendment was created. But, they own all the weaponry. And so they can do when you own all the guns, you can do whatever you want. When they show up to your house and demand to look through it, you know why you have to let them do it? Because they have guns and you don't, and it's just like if push came to shove, they would win because of that. So, yeah, I mean, you should be very weary of anyone who has all the guns, and the police do, and they have all the power, and they get their power, of course, from the courts and the district attorney's offices, who have allowed all this to happen to me, to Karen Read, et cetera. I don't know. I think that people instinctively want to back the police because if your police are corrupt and they can't be trusted, then you're living in an anarchy. You're living in a chaotic society. And there's something even like, throughout history, there's always been this balance between like, well, yeah, okay, so the government's corrupt and the police are a little out of control, but at least we have order. Like there's always this balance between order and civil liberties that, you need to strike, and certain societies do it better than others. It's just like, yeah, you can have order, but the police might get a little out of control sometimes. And are you willing to let civil liberties get swept under the rug? And I'm not. It's like, I think that you can have both. You can have order and you can have to protection of civil liberties.
Are you worried about the state of our democracy today and where it might go?
It is concerning that people like Michael Morrissey get elected so easily, and like that why is he doing this? Because he fears no political.
Michael Morrissey, of course, being the district attorney of Norfolk County.
Right. Yeah. So living in a monopolistic, state like this is a one-party control state, and Michael Morrissey has a D in front of his name, so he's all set unless he gets primaried. I mean, that's the only way, unless some like Rachel Rollins type or, radical, like George Soros funded. And I would support a DA. I would support anybody who ran against Michael Morrissey. I've said that. I don't care how radical they are, how much I disagree with their politics. I don't like murder cover-ups. Like that offends me more than anything.
Yeah.
And so that's why Michael Morrissey has to go.
This is what's so interesting about this case to me, is that it's so flipped. I mean, so I come from the true crime space, right? And the very pro-social justice, pro-criminal justice reform space. Like a lot of the media that we cover, like we talk about a lot of cases like the Curtis Flowers case. We talk about a lot of cases where there are people of color involved, where they're like very much poor people on the margins. And it's very often very like conservative values pushing the oppression. What fascinates me about the Karen Read case, there's no people of color involved. It's mostly upper middle class people involved. We're talking about a Democratic run district. And we're talking about a lot of people watching this case, I think. This is the first time they are really seeing it. Like, by the way, the Boston police have a lot of issues and have for a long time. And I think the Karen Read case is opening up a certain part of the population's eyes. And they're like, oh my God, it's real. I see it.
I've said this before and I'll say it again. And not everyone agrees with it. This would be a lot easier if Karen Read was a black woman. Like,
you think it would be easier? But do you think anyone would be paying attention?
Oh, yes. 100 times. There would be
I'm
100.
not sure. I agree with
Picture
that.
this. Picture this.
Would
A
you
black,
be writing about it if she were a black woman?
1000%. The color of the Kara Reed skin is not what made me get involved in this, right? It is the outrageousness of the charges that made me get involved. If Karen Reed was a black woman who was dating a white cop or whatever, and everybody in the story is white except for Karen Reed, imagine that. And then they pin it on the black woman.
Yeah.
Like all these white cops, these MAGA white cops too. They're all Trump supporters, all these people. And then they pin it on the black woman. There has been virtual silence on the Karen Reed case. These people that allegedly want police reform more than anyone. Well, here's the most blatantly obvious police corruption case I've ever seen. And it's just crickets. If anything, it's been blatant support for the institutions. Like I reached out to Jamie Eldridge. He's a state senator from Acton who I can't stand. He's like politically to the left as far as you can get, but he's like Mr. Criminal Justice Reform. So I reached out to him a year ago about this. I'm like, you gotta say something. You gotta do something. I don't agree with you. And he's like, well, let's just let it play out. Let's just, would you be?
That's the thing. The political alignment of this is so weird, but you have millions of people. And it's on television. Like, I will tell you, this is like an Innocence Project case in reverse. I've said it on the thing before. This is like we are watching. It's like one of those '90s trials where you're like, how the fuck did that happen? We're watching it in real time. It is wild. So, how did the case first come on your radar? So
I remember when it first happened. Whenever cops get killed, it's always like the type of story I like to cover. The Michael Chestnut trial story, like that was a big one I did in 2018. The Ron Tarantino story out of Auburn in 2016, Sean Gannon in 2018. Those stories really like get people upset because it's always the same story. It's always like some career scumbag with like 125 priors that should have been locked up, and then a cop gets killed. Like that's almost always the story. So when I saw that a cop was killed a Boston cop was killed, that piques my attention. But then I see, the person who did it, it's a woman named Karen Reed, and I look her up, and she's like some Fidelity exec. I look on her page, and I'm like, okay, so she got no priors. All right, well, and then I'm like, so this is just a horrible accident. Like that's what it looked like. I'm like, I didn't doubt she did it because they were saying she did it. So
they said they had ring footage, didn't they?
Footage. I'm like, so it must be legit. It's like, so what? And all I could think, how horrible, like how horrible for John O'Keefe, how horrible for this person whose life is like has to live with this guilt for the rest of their life, is probably going to go to jail for a little bit. Like how horrible for all parties involved. Like that's all I could think. I have no angle on this story that I want to take. And I forgot about it. And then 15 months later, I saw an NBC 10 report, something about a Google search for how long to die in cold at 2:27 a.m. And so that piqued my attention, and I clicked on it and I read it, and I'm like, okay, let's go read the filings. And so a couple of people sent the filings to me and like, you got to read these filings. You got to read the court files. And I spent like 3 hours just consuming them all. I read Alan Jackson's 94-page affidavit from April 12th, 2023. And my jaw dropped, and I'm like, one thing after another. And they brought receipts. These weren't just blind, baseless allegations. They're right. Like, well, here's his Apple Health data showing him ascending and descending stairs. Here's the how long to die in cold search deleted. Here's Jennifer McCabe's call log. Every single thing that they alleged was backed up by forensic data.
Yep.
And I'm just like, oh my God, this is real. This really happened. And you get like chills when you come to terms with it, and you're just like, oh my God,
yeah.
This happened. Wow.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
Can I throw something there out at you that I've been thinking about a lot? I think that a big barrier for people is the idea that when they hear the word conspiracy, I think the word conspiracy, by the way, is so misused in this case. Because it's like conspiracy, like it evokes the idea of like 100 people in a room with like wearing masks, like, ooh, think like stroking their mustaches. So it's to me much more likely that like some stupid fucking bullshit happened in that house, right? And then Proctor thought she did it and then did bad cop shit and decided to pin it on her because that's the kind of bad cop he was. And then maybe later realized she didn't or whatever. But like it's like two smaller things working together or just like a confluence of things. But the idea of conspiracy, it's very off-putting for people to think that like, okay, so this happened, and then 50 people all got together at 2 a.m. and made a
That's what they always say.
But that's not how it fucking happens, right?
Oh,
it's just like a series of events. It's like, so if things went the way it looks like they went, some stupid fucking bullshit happened with a bunch of drunk people, and whatever happened, we can't know exactly what it was, but something happened in the house. He died, or maybe they didn't know he was dead, whatever. He ends up on the lawn. They realize in the morning that they have a really good opportunity here with Karen Read. In my opinion, Proctor's text looked like he thought she did it initially, but whatever he thought later. And like it, I would love to see other records of his other copping. Other policing.
We've looked him up. We've looked up other cases.
But the conduct looks very much like other cases where a police officer is like, I have the right person. I'm just going to make sure the case happens. And so it's just like this two like parallel tracks of people who figure out that they have a way to get out of it, and a cop who's just used to making his case really good. And then maybe that cop realizes, oh, maybe I have the wrong person and I need to make it even better. Like that shit happens all the time. It happens I just don't think people realize how common like this is on the police side of it. It happens all the time. I mean, this happens all the time. There was this wonderful documentary on Netflix about rape victims who say that they're raped, and then the cops try to convince them they weren't. And then they say to them, hey, we have video that proves that you weren't raped. And then the rape victim recants, and then they get arrested for reporting false rapes. It happens all the fucking time. And so cops just lie about stuff they have because they don't want to like deal with the allegations or whatever. And then the wrong person ends up in prison. It happens all the time. And so in my mind, it's not like 100 people in a room making a decision. And I think that's the misconception people have about this case. They're like, so you're just trying to tell me that 50 people are lying and they all got together. I'm like, no, right? That didn't have to go down that way.
Because that's what makes it sound unbelievable to people. It's like 50 people are involved, they're all lying. Like, no, let me break it down for you how it happened. There was a fight that broke out in the house. It went too far. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then the
dog got involved.
They realized that this guy's going to die. And whoever delivered this fatal blow to the back of that, it was an accident.
Probably. He probably fell or something.
We don't deserve, Colin or Brian doesn't deserve to have their whole life thrown away over this accident. Let's just put him out where the girl was.
Or we can say that a plow hit him. Or that. I don't think the plan was to have Karen I think the plan was he either stumbled out, died in the snow, or he was covered with snow by the plow, or the plow. I don't think the Karen plan was
just, I don't know, didn't come in the house.
I don't even necessarily think they thought he was going to die.
They knew he was going to die. That's why she Googled how long to die in cold.
Maybe.
They couldn't afford to have him wake up and tell the truth about what happened. He had to die.
That's a good point. But I don't think the Karen thing happened until later, because how could they possibly know that? Okay, so to me, it's very, very, one of the huge issues for me is, one thing I wanted to ask you about is what I call ghost facts. So the state's whole case hinges on a couple of things that aren't real, in my opinion. The I hit him is not real, right? Jen McCabe called the cops back to come back and say, I forgot something. And that's where the I hit him came from, correct?
She didn't even say I hit him. When she called the cops back, she told them that she said, could I have hit him?
Correct.
Did I hit him?
And that was at 9 a.m.?
That was at 9 a.m. with Lank. And that evolved until the trial when it suddenly became I hit him.
And that's the linchpin of their whole case, which is wild to me. Wild.
Yeah, like that. Like even if I could say I hit John O'Keefe. Doesn't mean it's true.
But that's even turned into people saying, well, could it have been a My Cousin Vinny thing where she said, did I hit him in the moment? I'm like, I don't think she fucking said that at all, because you hear her on her own recording on his voicemail, and she's not saying that. She's not.
And not a single cop has that written in their report.
Nope.
Not one. 5 cops were there. Not one of the only, where that started with was Katie McLaughlin, the firefighter, who lied committed perjury. If you don't think Katie McLaughlin is capable of lying, just understood that she got up there and said Caitlin Albert was an acquaintance of her, that she's somebody she went to school with. And then we find pictures of them at a baby shower.
Right.
Hot tub.
But even if you give her the benefit of the doubt, right? And even if, because by the way, like as a journalist, I'm always like, I start there. If she is a firefighter who administered whatever, and she heard through the grapevine that Karen said whatever, like maybe her memory is like, oh yeah, I remember her saying that. Like maybe that's it. Because if somebody says that she said that, that memory becomes real to people, right? But I don't think she said that because Jen McCabe called people back to the scene to tell them hours later. That would have come out immediately.
We know she didn't say I hit him because there was 5 cops there. None of them heard it.
That's the linchpin of their fucking case. Isn't that insane?
That's a confession.
I know.
Why wasn't she arrested at
right
the
then.
Scene? They just let her get away with the murder weapon?
Right.
Like, are you kidding me?
I know.
Come on.
Another ghost fact, and I have actually written to WBZ about this because they still have this story on their site with this insane correction about the ring footage from across the street. Somebody, I believe, in the police told the media that there was ring footage across the street of Karen hitting John. Right?
They said they have a source in the Norfolk County DA's office that says that.
Somebody on the air, I think, said there was ring footage because
they were reading off of that report, that channel. Like there's
a correction now that says they didn't say that on the air, but the video on the story doesn't match the web story. There's nothing about ring footage in the video on the story. So I've written to them and I've asked them, can you please just send me a link to the original story as it aired? Because people have written to me and said, I remember the WBZ story saying there is ring footage of Karen hitting John O'Keefe. So imagine a situation in which Karen believes there's ring footage of her hitting John O'Keefe. She was drunk, right? She doesn't know because at her original arraignment, she thought maybe it was an accident. She didn't know, right? Wouldn't you, they lied. The police told people they had ring footage of her. That ring footage never existed. Another ghost fact. But people in the public believe there's ring footage. They do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm reading it right here. It says WBZ's report says WBZ I-team sources, and it said investigators have video from a Ring doorbell camera and Reed's car has been impounded. So that means that police leaked that to WBZ. Correct. They wanted that to get out there. And it's interesting, we learned in trial, this report came out February 1st, 2022. Well, we know from the FBI's investigation and all of their cell phones that Matt McCabe on one of the group texts tells Brian Albert and Nicole Albert and Jen McCabe in a group text that just tell Chris, just tell him to say that the guy never came in the house, and and they were down, and he said that the media was down at the pizza shop.
Yep.
I think that was WBZ was down at the pizza shop. And I think that's where they got this piece of information from, was Chris Albert just told, I-team sources, whatever that means. Chris Albert, tells them, oh yeah, because they just wanted to poison it. Like Chris Albert.
I don't think it was I-team. I think it was the cops. I don't think it was Chris Albert. I think the cops told the I-team.
Where is the cops? Chris Albert is a close friend of Michael Proctor.
Yeah.
His brother Kevin Albert's a cop. His brother Brian Albert's a cop. Chris Albert is a cop, for all intents and purposes. He speaks for the police. The police speak through him. And so, when Chris Albert, when they put that out there, this now affects public opinion. People like me are seeing it, and you see, Ring camera footage, case closed.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't argue with that. What am I going to say? But that changes public opinion immediately.
Next question. Federal investigation. The thing that intrigued me most about this case when I first started paying attention to it, when Boston Globe asked me to come on their podcast and talk about it, was I knew that the federal investigation stuff, that Bev Canoni had sealed it, but I also knew that the defense's cross-examination and all their questions would be based on what was in there, right? That they'd be asking questions that were based on the grand jury testimony and based on what was in the files. If that hadn't been sealed, and if we were allowed to get more of that stuff in the trial, what were you hoping we would have seen in the trial that we weren't able to see?
Well, we saw a lot of it, but they just couldn't say federal investigation.
Yeah.
They always had to reference some other, like the butt dial stuff that came from the federal investigation. That's how we found out about that,
Yeah.
And, Lucky Loughran, the plow driver, the FBI approached him prior to the state police. Like that would change everything. Like, wait a minute, the FBI found this guy a year before the state police investigating him did. Like he's the most important eyewitness. The whole thing. He's the plow driver.
Yep.
He goes right by the house multiple times. He doesn't see a body. But the FBI,
the defense interviewed him, right? And then the FBI, but then the state police didn't interview him until August of 2023, right?
They interviewed him 2 days after I did.
Okay.
So I found out about Lucky Lockhorn through the grapevine, and I went and tracked him down. I just gave him a call, and he just was willing to talk, and I'm like, okay, then this guy was willing to talk. I'm like, and I asked him, so did the police talk with you, Michael Proctor? He's like, no. Would you talk with him if he want? Yeah, definitely. I'd talk with him. I told him exactly what I saw. And then that's the problem. Michael Proctor doesn't want to hear that. Michael Proctor doesn't want to hear anything about a body because that goes against Michael Proctor's narrative.
Yep.
And I disagree with what you said before about how, Michael Proctor might have believed this. There's only a few people that knew for a fact that this was a lie from the beginning.
Yeah.
Everyone in the house.
Yep.
Right. And Michael Proctor.
You think he knew immediately?
I think he was told. Like, I think that, okay, so how did Michael Proctor get picked out of a hat? There's like dozens of state police detectives. And the one guy who gets picked to do this is from Canton, and he happens to be close family friends with the Alberts and fails to mention that to anyone. Right. Come on. Like, this guy was put on there. And what I think happened, it was a fight went wrong that night. Right. Colin was definitely there. He was inside the house. The fact that they're trying so hard to get Colin out of that house, even though the murder happened outside, they say. So who cares who was in the house? Who cares if Colin was in the house? But they're like, no, Colin wasn't there. Colin wasn't there. Well, he's not there.
Not to mention all the other people who weren't there. We also, Chris wasn't there, right? Tristan wasn't there. All the non-theirs there, right?
Yeah, they weren't questioned, but like they are insisting. No, Colin, he left 5 minutes before. No, he was out of there. Who cares if he was there? He was killed outside, right? What does it matter if Colin was in the house? They're insistent that leads me to believe Colin was definitely involved in whatever happened there.
Yeah.
And this is Operation Save Colin. Okay. I think he was involved. I think Brian Albert was involved. And I think Brian Higgins is involved. And I think that when he went home, he was probably like freaking out. And I think his dad was just like, it's got to be okay, Colin. We're going to take care of this. We know a detective in the state police. No one's going to question you.
All right.
We just don't talk to anybody. Okay. And it's pretty sad. I think that's how it went down. So I think Chris, because who are the two McAlberts that have been most out there in trying to prove their innocence and just not being shy? Chris Albert and Jennifer McCabe.
Yep.
Both of them have children involved. Allie McCabe was Colin Albert's getaway driver, like that, which makes her an accessory. And both of them have just a lot of skin in the game because their children are involved in this. And so I think that they've just given that away, that those two especially. So I think it was an accident. I think Michael Proctor was alerted to it by Chris and Julie Albert and said, Michael, and I think they went to his sister first. So Courtney Proctor was really closer to them than Michael. And I think Colin doesn't deserve this. He doesn't deserve to lose. It was an accident.
I think it was an accident too. I don't think he was lured to his murder or anything like that. It's kind of absurd.
To say Karen did
it's a horrible murder plan to lure somebody to somebody's house at 2 a.m.
Chop up, and they always say that. Well, why would they just throw him out on the lawn? What do you think they're going to chop up his body?
No,
what else are they going to do?
And also everybody's been drinking, and that's why I believe it was an accident. Okay, so next question. I do not believe, only because I have been exposed to other federal investigations, and those make me wonder whether or not this federal investigation was actually happening before the Karen Read case or not. What are your thoughts around that?
Some people have said that, but I know as a fact it's not.
How do you know that as a fact? You don't have to tell me exactly how, but
I know the exact date that they got involved.
How do you know that?
I have sources. I have these sources. I went to jail for these sources. December of 2022 is when the defense started speaking with the FBI.
But how do you know they weren't investigating the state police before that, and then the FBI approached them?
Because I know that the FBI didn't approach them. I know that the Karen Read defense team approached the FBI.
Okay.
Anybody could pitch a story to the FBI. they're not going to dedicate time or resources to it unless they think there's something there, though.
But that happened fast then, because the FBI is not necessarily known for being a nimble, fast-moving organization.
Well, yeah, I mean, they started getting a hold of him, pitching the story, I think, in December of 2022. They knew something was up. They knew they needed federal intervention from a higher authority. And by April of 2023, that's when the subpoenas went out. Colin Albert got visited in his dorm room April 10th. Brian Higgins shortly after, Brian Albert, they all started getting him in the middle of April, about a week before I started writing about it, as a matter of fact.
So do you think they're going to pursue another trial? I don't. What do you think?
Don't.
How could they?
How could they do it in the first place?
Well, they don't have a lead investigator. Okay, so how is this going to look?
Up there and read text messages about bowel movements. They clearly have no shame whatsoever.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. It's an excellent point.
And they found some idiots on the jury to think that she hit him with the car.
Do you think it would have made a difference had the closing arguments not been limited to 1 hour?
Yes, 100% that benefited the prosecution. And I think if Alan Jackson could do the closing arguments again, he would completely redo the way he did it.
I agree.
It was great. I enjoyed it. It was a masterpiece. But I think that he should have less conspiracy, more Karen Read couldn't have done this.
I agree.
That's what we're there for. And I think a lot of the jurors just got it in their head that if they were voting to acquit Karen Read, that they were voting to convict the McAlberts, and that is not what was happening. You can say that there's not enough evidence to convict both of them. There's a world that exists in which you can say that. And so that should have been emphasized, that as much as we enjoyed skewering these people, they're not on trial.
Agreed.
Karen Read is on trial. And the most important witnesses are the last two guys, the ARCA experts, who said that his injuries could not have come from a car. Point blank, period. Over. Karen Read's innocent.
That's the whole thing. And the state's witness said her phone connected to his Wi-Fi at 12:36 in the morning, which makes it physically impossible for her to have been there when his Apple Health data stopped. It's physically impossible for her to have. And it's funny because every time I talk to somebody who doesn't know a lot about this and is like, but what about this? You can literally explain away. I mean, it's actually impossible that she did it. It's actually impossible. Yeah. I'm a journalist and I don't make those assertions, except it is actually impossible that she did it. And if anyone has ever tried to drive backwards at 24 miles an hour, they know it's also actually impossible.
Did you see my video doing that?
I have read, you've written almost 400 blogs about this. I have read about 300 of them.
Oh, gotcha.
And the one where you tried to drive 24 miles an hour.
I tried to get to 24 miles an hour in 62 feet in the exact spot. I go pedal to the metal. I have a car that will go backwards 155 feet automatically, the same speed and distance that you did it, and it won't let you go 24. It will slow down. It won't let you do it because it's too fast. Anything above 7 or 8 on reverse feels scary.
It's wild.
And Karen Read, they wanted us to believe, did that in the snow, drunk, on a curvy road somehow, and just executed it perfectly without anyone seeing or hearing it. Come on. And that's my big thing about this. When we talk about conspiracy, they're like, you guys are conspiracy theorists. Ha ha. It's no. You're the conspiracy theorist. If you believe that these ARCA experts are wrong and Lucky Loughran is wrong and everybody's wrong,
that's right.
You're the conspiracy theorist if you believe it's possible for Karen Read to have done this.
That's right. I think another mistake that the defense made was intimating a plot rather than a potential accident. I think that would be much easier for the jury to swallow the idea of people panicking around an accidental death rather than plotting around a murder. That's something that
They kept bringing up the thing at the waterfall bar where they're playing grab ass. They're doing the thing. Yeah. Higgins and Albert, they have their dukes in the air. Were you guys warming up for a fight? I didn't buy that. Nah. I'm I don't buy it. I think they're just assholes and just meatheads that just like to fuck around. And they were drunk, and this is just what they do. They're meatheads.
They are meatheads. And I just want to ask you about that because the Canton culture, right? People keep asking me I don't know why I'm still interested in this. The trial was a mistrial. It's over. And my theory about this is these are bullies. right? These people, and I'm watching it. I've watched the Canton town meetings. I have seen, I've read the Yelp reviews of the Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Like I have read, like all of the stuff. These people,
Julie
these people are bullies, and I think that there's something to a community that's sort of been living with bullies, like feeling like finally people are seeing like that we've been living with these bullies, and I think there's something to us seeing it that it feels like, yeah, like we're watching bullies, like finally people are noticing. So is that what it is? These people are bullies, right? They're just bullies.
Why people like me? Because I'm the guy standing up to the bullies. Like,
yeah, and you're kind of a dick. Like, I mean, let's be real. You are kind of a dick.
They don't like me. They don't like me for sure. But
you can admit, like, you're kind of a dick to the bullies. Like, just
kind of, yeah. Like, I'm much more popular in Canton than they will ever be.
I see that when you go to the Walgreens parking lot and people are like,
and people, it's like I stand in front of Chris Albert's pizza shop and everybody loves me. And I'd say, this is my town now. And yeah, like I'm abrasive. Yeah, but it's like because I'm a dick to dicks, and these people, these are bullies. I mean, look at like I did one of the best articles I did on this. I think it was it was in the early days, the double digits. It was about the yearbook project, and it just showed when every person graduated from high school in this story, and it's just amazing when you see it all, and you see the superlatives they won: most attractive, most popular,
Jen
most
McCabe,
athletic.
most attractive.
Yeah. And it's just like, this is just high school, like to these people. And they've never gotten out of high school and they're just bullies. And they've gotten away with, they're the cool kids who have gotten away with shit their entire life. And they have people who just follow them around and support them blindly. Like, how is Jennifer McCabe not, that was one of the most shocking parts about this to me, is when that Google search came out and all her records came out, how she was not socially ostracized in town, that she could just walk around like she's Queen Bee and still have these people that support her and blah, blah, blah. And you know what? Talk about a racial component to this. I've said this from the beginning. All these people, these McAlbert supporters, they're just like, oh, how could a soccer mom do this? It's like, excuse me, why don't you just say what you're really saying?
Right. How could a white person do this? Exactly.
That's what you're saying. Yeah, that's what, when you say soccer mom, that's code switching for white women.
Absolutely.
By that, it's like, oh God, oh no, a white suburban soccer mom, no, she's incapable of being a psychopath, 100%.
Yeah, but I will say, and I said this in the Boston Globe podcast, when white women are involved in crimes, they're either angels or psychopaths. And Karen Read has been cast as a psychopathic, toxic bitch, and Jen McCabe, and it's like, what are you talking? Like, it's like, no, she's just a person. She's probably very flawed. She's probably weird, just like everybody else. But like, she's not a psychopathic, toxic bitch. She's just somebody who definitely didn't hit that guy. Like, she's definitely,
exactly.
like, she's just.
And now we all have to examine all of her character flaws. There really shouldn't be any of our business. Like, I don't
exactly.
Like, her shit with Higgins and the angry.
Who gives a fuck?
It's like, to me, it's just like, I don't need to know.
So I have a question for you along those lines. You know, you're a dick to dicks. You're a real shit stirrer, which is my favorite thing about you. And it also, like, sometimes when I see you doing that, I'm like, oh man. Oh, but by the way, I will say I did watch the whole lacrosse tape, the whole lacrosse video. And I thought to myself, you know public spaces, you know the rules of journalism, you know when you're allowed to approach people, how. You sometimes say things that like someone from WBZ or WBUR wouldn't say. That being said, when I watched that video, aside from the when you like yelled out your cop killer part, I will say the headline, if any other reporter had done that, would have been Matt McCabe shoves reporter.
Right. Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
He called you a pedophile. He shoved you. And like all this other shit happened in the video that went completely ignored. Completely ignored.
And I was charged with felony witness intimidation.
And the minute when you were asked to leave, you left. You were a little bit dickish when you left, but that's you. Whatever.
I didn't have to leave. I could have stayed if I wanted to.
You could have, but you didn't. But you seem to know the rules. The question I'll ask is, you did write a blog post a while back about Karen Read supporters, like, stop being so cringe. I told you I read your blog. What do you wish like people around this case would stop doing? Like, what is not making it better?
Oh, I remember what got that. It was just like, they were like, that was when I was in jail. And like, I'm kind of like the leader of this thing. And I like to think that I bring a certain element of stability to it where it's organized. And then when I was in jail, it was like, daddy's away. So it's kind of anarchy out here. And like, there's this guy, Grant Smith Ellis, who's like this troll guy with a press pass somehow. And, he's just a joke. Like, nobody takes him seriously. And, Turtle Riders were out there going at it with
He has
Grant.
like mental health issues too, right?
I don't know if he really does. I think he's kind of pretending a little bit. I think he's just an asshole. But I won't get into his diagnosis. But all I know is people like him are to be ignored. And they're not to be not because they win when they get any sort of attention. And so when I saw videos and people are sending me videos of people making fun of him and doing, it's like, don't give Grant the high road. Like, just don't talk to Grant, just stop, guys. Focus. Like, Grant's not a part of the story. Okay. Jennifer McCabe, fine. Like, if you want, Jennifer McCabe's involved in this. Grant, no, stop it.
So don't focus on the sideshow. Keep your eyes on the prize.
Exactly. Like, it's perfectly acceptable, in my opinion, to go up to do what I did to Jennifer McCabe. It's not a crime to go up to a woman who I contend and a lot of millions of people believe was involved in the murder of John O'Keefe, and ask her why she Googled that at 2:27. That's what I ask her every single time. Like, are you worried about going to jail? Are you worried about the federal investigation? And never once has Jennifer McCabe or any of them ever told me, leave me alone.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk to you.
Right.
They don't answer. Some of them have, like, Matt McCabe's like, oh, pedophile. Some of them go at it with me a little bit, but not.
They talk about how short you are. They talk about you being
short you are. Yeah, like your little hands.
How tall are you, by the way?
I'm not short. I'm 5'9". I mean, it's not tall.
That's regular. By the way, it doesn't matter how tall you are, but that also is, by the way, way taller than my husband. That's like regular height. Just
it's like 30th percentile. Like, it's like I'm average than the median.
That's
smaller.
Regular height, my friend.
Median's probably like 5'10", 5'11". So it's like I'm pretty close. It's like, yeah, I guess I could be a little
bullying thing to say. Little guy, little hands.
That's a perfect example of, like, that's their first go-to is talk about your physical characteristics. And I think I said to Matt, you're looking great. You're looking sharp. like, nice. You guys, nice clothes you would have quit that day, man. You guys look great out there. And so anyway, and then I just get right back to the business. I start asking them the actual questions, and that has been turned into a felony because it makes them uncomfortable. And they always say, well, you're at a kid's game. Oh, no, not at a children's lacrosse game. Well, they were losing 10-1, and then we were at the top of the stairs, and I made them slightly uncomfortable for 5 minutes, and then I left because I didn't know where else to find them. Yeah. I knew they'd be at the kids' game, so I went there and I asked them questions, and that's what reporters used to do, is ask people questions.
Yep. All right, so a couple of final questions here for you. The Sandra Birchmore case overlaps with this one pretty significantly. And I've been wondering, like, when, if ever, the Karen Read case settles down, are you done with Canton, or are you going to stick with Canton for a little bit?
Oh, I mean, the Karen Read story is not going anywhere for a while. We're going to have another trial. I back to what you were saying. I don't see how a second trial doesn't happen.
Oh, really? Okay.
Well, Auntie Bev's not going to dismiss it. And it's not like the district attorney's office is suddenly going to have a moral compass and say, well, we got to stop this now.
Do you think at any point during this trial, at any point, I mean, Kevin, my husband, kept turning to me and being like, there has to be one person who works there who's like, guys, are we sure 100% that this person did it? I mean, do you think there could be one person who works there somewhere?
If their name's not Michael Morrissey, then it doesn't matter what they think.
Probably right.
It's like you're just an underling. You're an employee. Do your job. People like their $90,000 a year and their cheese sandwich. Like, they just want to go and they don't want to ruffle feathers and just do my job. I don't know if Adam Lally believes any of the shit that comes out of his mouth. Who knows? So I think that so this will go on for a while more, and then there will be the federal stuff that will trickle in, and I will continue. I've had a lot of opportunities like you're having me on now. A lot of people want to talk to me, and I'm going to ride this one out till people are sick of talking about it, quite frankly. And then we got my issues too, like my legal issues.
Yeah. What's your status right now?
Oh, 120 years in jail. I'm facing something like that.
No, you're not. 120.
Yeah, there's 10 years on every felony charge I have with like that lacrosse incident. That was 10 years in jail I could get for that.
All right. So can we just be very clear? So I talked about this in the podcast a couple episodes ago. I read the Massachusetts statute very carefully, despite some people on Twitter telling me I didn't. I understand the law. You did not intend to impede anybody from testifying or be retributive from anybody because they testified, or impede any case from happening or slow down any case from happening,
right.
Which are the definitions of witness intimidation in the state of Massachusetts or pretty much anywhere.
That's not what Chris Albert said.
You wanted the trial to happen. You wanted them to testify, and you were not being retaliatory against them because they were testifying.
The statute. You know the statute. Yeah.
Of course I know the fucking statute.
And
None of those things happen. I watched the entire video. I also watched your entire rolling rally, and I watched the video before your rolling rally at which you told people, do not show up if you're going to be a dick.
Yep.
Do not show up if you're going to be violent. Do not show up if you're going to be loud. We do not want you there.
Yep. And that's what I've always been pushing.
And very importantly, I played this tape in my podcast outside of Michael Proctor's house. You said, he has a no trespassing sign. That's very smart. That means I can't go up and knock on his door, thereby demonstrating you understand what harassment is and what it isn't.
Right. Correct. And it's like, so I know the law, like I've read it, and like, I'm not going to do it. But what they've all said, and this, it's not, that's why they won't be able to convict me. It's just nonsense. But what they've all said, and they've all been coached to say this, is that, well, like when they all go in front of the grand jury and they're all asked, like, given leading questions and saying, well, why do you think he's doing this? Why do you think he's harassing you? Because I'm a witness in the Karen Read trial and he doesn't want me to testify. That is the script that they've all been given.
You want nothing more than them to testify.
I know, but that's what they say. And at a grand jury, you only hear.
Why don't you just make a podcast episode about how much you want them to testify?
I have, but at a grand jury.
Specifically called Why I Want Jen McCabe to Testify.
Yeah, I will. And it was great theater, but like in front of a grand jury, our grand jury system's messed up. The defense doesn't get to be there. It's just the prosecutor and the witnesses. And so the grand jurors do not hear the other side. They hear about this crazy person going around who's like scaring people, coming to your homes, scaring, and they all tell them this. They're all just like, my children, he's coming after them, and he's threatened. Lizzie Proctor said I was going to kidnap her children. That's what she said under oath, that I'm going to I came there to kidnap her kids. And so like these grand jurors are just like, well, this guy sounds horrible. This sounds like more than enough probable cause to indict.
Listen, you might be horrible, but that's not why. I'm just going to.
Yeah. Like, I don't want to, I got 2 kids. I don't need any more of your scrubby kids. I don't need it all. I'm good with diapers for a while. Like, I'm good. I don't want to raise your kids. I made a comment that like, if Michael Proctor goes to jail, I will teach his kids how to throw a spiral football. I made a comment saying that. She took that as, I'm going to kidnap your kids. I said, it's basically like.
She didn't take it that way. She said she took it that way.
Right. And it's just and that's what these people do. They are bullies their whole lives and professional victims at the same time. Like somebody has finally gone back against them and they don't know what to do except victimize themselves.
All right. Well, what is the next step in your legal case?
So, they're just going along slowly with this pretrial motions, and they haven't given us a bill of particulars, which is something that explains how your actions were illegal. Like, okay, tell me what that lacrosse incident, what about that was a violation of the statute? They haven't done that. And now a judge has forced them to do it, ordered them to do it. So this is going to be interesting. And we will use whatever they use for a motion to dismiss.
And they still have your devices and they have not given you the raw data from your own devices, correct?
Yeah, they can't even copy them and give them to me. And I mean, there's a lot of personal shit in there. And there's like I hate to say this, but like there's violating pictures of women in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
no, listen, it's just, I totally get it. If someone were to take my phone away and take all my, like, no.
Yeah, no, exactly. No, it's like your most sacred thing, your most personal thing.
My Reddit searches alone. No.
Yeah. And then you're like, it's in the hands of these people who hate you.
Yeah.
Who want to destroy you.
I mean, how much they were probably looking for shit for the Karen Read case on your devices, right? 100%.
Yeah. They can't admit they've gone through them.
Yeah.
But I'm sure they have. And anything they use, they can't use.
Well, Aidan, I hope that we get to stay in touch. It's been an absolute delight talking to you. And listen, I think you're kind of a shit stirrer.
Well, thank you.
But I also absolutely cannot overstate how much you have been so integral to the world knowing about the Karen Read case, caring about it, and you are the reason why so many people are activated. So you are a journalist. Thank you so much for joining me on the Readathon. I can't thank you enough for taking the time.
Thank you for having me.
in crime media.